I think that even larger than campaigns, when people are willing to be honest about their experiences, and again, like that's a really vulnerable thing. It's not something that everyone's in a space to do. It can be hard, right? Because we do worry about how people perceive us. We do worry about people are going to think, but for those who can share, at least to some extent, their story and their experiences and stuff, I think when we know someone who's gone through something, and then when we hear about that, we're like, oh, and you have that person in your head of like, well, I'm connected to that person, and I know that person. It's not this unknown. It's not a statistic. Thinking about actual people. And I think that really changes your relationship with something. Just like, when we know someone who has MS, all of a sudden when you see campaigns for raising money for finding treatments for MS or stuff, you think of that person and you have a wildly different relationship with it than when you just see like a fundraising campaign and you're like, oh yeah, that's like a good cause, but you don't have any personal connection with it.
Yeah. And that vulnerability of sharing your experience, I would imagine that vulnerability is because in our head, we are thinking, oh, they're going to judge us. They're going to think how weak we are or whatever. But my belief is that we'll invariably be more relatable to the people in the public. There's going to be mental health symptoms everywhere, but people are struggling with these emotions. We're all have that same template of emotions, and athletes and actors have, expressed and been vulnerable in that way. I was thinking about like the documentary with Michael Phelps and just some of the stuff that he's, advocated about mental health. And you'd be like, Olympic athlete having mental health symptoms? That's crazy. You hear him talk about it and you're like, yeah, these aren't things that are like out of the world for people. That we all experience that stuff. He just happens to have a certain type of lifestyle that involves, high level athletic ability.
1 in 4 Canadians at any kind of point in time would qualify for a mental health diagnosis. And we don't need to necessarily open up the like diagnostic can of worms, but right. That just says like, it's a lot of us, what it would be like to live in a world where we didn't have this kind of sense of internalized stigma. If it was not so unbelievable that somebody could be so high functioning and then also really struggle with stuff that's going on in their mind, stuff going on with their emotions, which, as you've pointed out, obviously inevitably affects their relationships and stuff. But it's a lot of us. And it doesn't mean that person stays in that place or that they don't like shift out of it, or maybe it's a season in their life or whatever. And then some people move in and out of it over the long haul, but it doesn't define who you are. It doesn't define what you're capable of. It doesn't have to define your life. Imagine the world I hope we're headed for, where you can be honest about it and no one's like, oh, okay, well, yikes, I don't know what to do with that.